to Entrepreneur 101, inspiring entrepreneurs to rise, innovate, and create lasting impact. And today I have a special guest. He is the founder of Win at Work, and of course, an author too, no other than, well, can you please introduce more about yourself, mister?
Absolutely, Daniel. So my name's Eric Woodard, and I'm just so happy to be on the podcast today with you, Daniel. Just want to acknowledge you. Like, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, like, just from what I know, you are like a machine, and the opportunity that you have to put things out in the world is just inspiring me. But yeah, so my name's Eric, and I am CEO and coach of an organization called Win at Work, where we help people with figuring out their work and life through coaching and professional development, personal development programs. So that's what I do.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Eric. And today let's talk about how mindset shapes every business decision. So tell us, how would you define the founder mindset or CEO mindset? In what specific way does it act an invisible compass of every strategic choice?
I mean, it's such a great question. And the word that comes to mind is crazy. Like, somebody has to be crazy to start a business. And I mean that in the best possible way, because at least in my experience, like, there's so many forces out there that are like, don't take risks, right? Like, don't get outside the norm, right? Like stay small, right? Because if we can just stay small, we'll be safe. And so in order to really step out and create one's own thing, you've got to go against all of that, right? And it is can be wildly uncomfortable, and it can also be the best decision one has ever made. I know that's true. One of the best decisions that I can't leave my beautiful smart wife, right? That's probably the best decision, my kids. But other than that, like, yeah, being an entrepreneur is my favorite thing for sure.
Beautiful. So, what is a common scarcity mindset trap that holds small businesses back? And what does abundant mindset alternative look like in practice?
100%, Daniel. And look, I mean, we could spend the whole podcast talking just about this, but we are sort of wired for a negative default mindset, right? And Daniel, I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, and your listeners may have too, but it just bears repeating, right? Like, we are wired as human earthling mammals for one purpose: stay alive, right? Our amygdala doesn't care about our happiness. It doesn't care about reaching our full potential. It doesn't care about any of that. As long as we're breathing, we're good. Anything that represents a threat to that, any change, means scary. So we develop this scarcity mindset as a way to keep ourselves small, basically to go inside the cave and put the rock in front, and just as long as we're breathing, we're good. And of course, for 200,000 years, that worked really well. It kept our species alive. For the last couple hundred or even couple thousand, it's not that great of a system, but just we've got old hardware going on. So that's where scarcity mindset comes from, I would suggest.
Yes, and people doesn't like change. Oh, they afraid.
That's right. Change is scary, baby. Change is scary.
So how does leaders' core belief about human nature, whether people are fundamentally trustworthy or not, shape their policies of hiring, delegation, and oversight?
Absolutely. It's Daniel said, have you done podcasting before? Because you ask great questions.
Thank you.
So I would humbly suggest that anytime anybody is angry, anxious, pessimistic, vengeful, it's all just the same version of the same thing. It's fear. They're just afraid. They're afraid they're going to get eaten by a tiger. Like, our brain doesn't know the difference between somebody's cutting me off in traffic, I lost my job, I don't have enough money in the bank account, my brother-in-law is mean, and a tiger. Like, we literally don't know the difference. It's the
Yes.
same physiological reaction. And so, um, when it comes to like handling like that, the opportunity is really just to realize that when people act out that way, it's really just they're just afraid. Leaders, followers, all the rest. They're just scared.
Hmm. Afraid for sure. So, can you give an example how a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, I was looking here. Oh yeah, I've got a visual aid here. I've got
Okay,
a
go ahead.
visual aid.
I'll
Okay.
make it bigger for you.
So
Visually.
here's a
Good.
visual aid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm actually stealing this from a coach I know. He's a Canadian coach, a guy named Trevor Timback. He's one of my
Mm-hmm.
coaches. He's awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
so one can and actually this is another Gay Hendricks thing. There's this idea of we can be above the line or below the line. Okay. And so when we're above the line, it's characterized by things like play or curiosity, slowing down, not knowing. If we're below the line, it's the opposite. It's a lot of knowing, it's speed, it's certainty, it's judgment. And what
Mm-hmm.
can happen is if I was to use this visual aid, see when we're above the line, and I know, yeah, I'm sort of getting it in there, right? We're above the
Mm-hmm.
line. It's like I got a green screen, so it's hard to see, right? If we're above
Yes.
the line, it's like this, right? Like
Yes.
it's open.
Yes.
But when we go below the line, things close up. Nothing can get in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing can
Mm-hmm.
get in at all. So the opportunity is to know, like the less I know. I mean, Daniel, I got to be honest with you. You don't may not know who you're talking to. I mean, I've got letters. I've got a doctorate. I'm a master coach. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
got so many damn pieces of paper you wouldn't even believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I learn, the less I know, right? Because knowing, a guy named Tom Chi wrote about, or he's got a TED talk about this, right? Knowing is the enemy of learning. So if we can
No.
stay in the land of
Mm-hmm.
that's where possibility lives. As soon as we start to know stuff, doors close, windows close, possibility goes away.
Mr. Eric, on mindset in action and decision making, how does a problem oriented mindset lead to completely different decision than opportunity focused mindset when facing the same market challenge?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting too, because I find people reach different conclusions, not based on actually what they think. It's
Mm-hmm.
really based on the questions they ask. Right. And so that's
Yes.
why whenever we're in a situation, if we can stay in curiosity and we can co-create solutions with other people, that's where possibility lives. Right. So if I've got a problem focused mindset, see, I'm not really focused on questions. What I'm focused on is judgment. That's bad. That's good. You're bad. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm bad. Right. It's a lot of like assessments. It's a lot of conclusions. And there's just not a lot of room there to go anywhere. Whereas if I approach it from a place of curiosity, right, I'll be asking questions like somebody with a problem focused mindset can be like, that's bad. And somebody with curious mindset won't say that's bad. They'll be like, I wonder what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Such different possibilities when we approach it like that.
When considering a new investment, Mr. Eric, how does mindset of fear versus mindset of conviction after risk calculus? Right?
I did. I mean, I run into this literally several times a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where at least in my business, I'm offered an opportunity to invest in something or an opportunity to learn something, and a big part of me screams, "Oh my God, are you crazy? Don't spend money on that. That's insane. You can't afford it. Your business is going to collapse."
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that, and at least for me, what I do is I ask myself, what's the part of me that's saying that? And what does it really need? And very often it's a part of me that was created when I was 5 years old that just needs a little bit of love and attention and it's just scared. Because what I find is when I do take the risk, often, not always, but many times, the payoff far outweighs whatever I would have saved by not taking the risk or not making the investment. And yes, have I made some bad investments in my business? Oh, hell yeah. And the ones that I mean, there's so many times where there's been investments I almost didn't make, and I can't imagine what my world would be like if I hadn't made them. Like so many examples. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Take the risk, people. Take the risk, and you
Take the risk.
will learn from it. How does the
Yeah.
mindset, our brand, is our most valuable asset, translate into specific daily decisions that company with our product is our only asset mindset would never make?
Yeah, it's brand is an interesting thing. And I think it comes down to authenticity, right? And it goes maybe even back to what I was saying about above the line and below the line.
Mm-hmm.
See, if I'm below the line, right, and the danger there is we don't want to judge one being better than the other, right? Because that can really sidetrack you, right? Because if I'm judging myself for being above or below, then I'm below, right? Because that's where judgment lives, right? It's catch 22.
Yeah.
But let's say I'm evaluating an opportunity from a place of scarcity, right?
Yes.
It's not really who I am, like I would argue, right? It's really just my true brand, my true authentic self being blocked up. Whereas if I'm evaluating something from a place of detachment, right? Whichever thing I choose about making the investment, if I'm really being my true self, my true brand, decisions just get really easier because um, I mean, at least in my experience, Daniel, like clarity comes much easier when
Mm-hmm.
I'm really living my brand. And part of that comes from keeping up appearances is a lot of work. I mean,
Yes.
right? It's never the scandal, it's always the cover up, right? And like whenever we hide our true brand, our true selves, like it's exhausting. And then we have to keep track of all the mistruths, and it's just easier just to be authentic and to be honest and to be our true brand. I find it works a lot better.
Be
Yeah.
authentic, people, and they will love you for sure. On overcoming limiting mindset, what are the telltale signs that one's useful mindset has now become a limiting belief that is holding the company back?
Yeah, so many. I mean, there's so many examples of this, and especially as a CEO, right, as a leader, some of the greatest hits I've experienced are I'm the only one who can do this. That's a big one, right? So that winds up in not delegating everything. Um, People won't pay more, right? People will only pay so much. That's a fun one. Um, Another one I've run into, and this is all for me, is that if there's people that can't pay and I don't help them, it's my fault. That's another fun one, right? That I've run
Yes.
into. Um, oh, another one, and I'm sort of experiencing this right now because my business has huge growth. Is it's all gonna fall apart, right? It's all gonna
Mm-hmm.
like it's and that's sort of like swims along with imposter syndrome, like people are gonna find out I'm a fake and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, those are all different. Oh, another one is like I'm bad. I'm a bad person. I'm somehow cheating people. Like they don't know what they're doing. I've tricked them into paying me money. So it's all different versions of that that I know I've experienced, and to some degree, to a large degree, continue to experience. I think I probably will until I'm dead because I'm a human. Thank
Yes.
goodness. And so yeah, but it's only everywhere, these beliefs. And I have
Mm.
yet to meet an entrepreneur that's done this that doesn't experience those things. It's ubiquitous.
Yes. Every entrepreneur will experience that for sure. And how can a leader or leadership team consciously audit their collective mindset to
Yeah.
identify and challenge the hidden assumption driving the strategy?
Absolutely. Well, like the thing that comes to mind first and foremost is get a coach. I'm a coach. I
Yes.
have a coach, right? Good coaches have coaches, and so get a coach, because one of the things that I do when I help leaders with and teams with this very thing is to listen to people in ways they've never been listened to, and to ask questions nobody in their life will ask. right? There's
Mm,
this great you know Simon Sinek is. You probably heard of Simon Sinek,
yes.
right? So
Yes.
there's this great video. It's short. It's on YouTube. He talks about being the smartest or no, the dumbest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The dumbest guy in the room. Have you seen this, Daniel? Do you know
No,
what I'm
not,
talking about?
no, not
Okay,
yet.
dumbest guy in the
Please
room.
share to
Yeah, yeah,
us.
it's great. So he basically tells the story of
Mm,
where he goes into like some boardroom and there's some consultants talking about this big project they're going to do and this big assessment. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Simon's sitting there and everybody else is nodding, and Simon raises his hand and says, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." And of course he
mm-hmm.
can do it because he's the new guy. And he keeps asking questions. Before long, sure enough, the people that have been there forever are like, "Yeah, I don't understand either." And people will nod their heads and agree just because that's what they do. They can't see the forest for the trees. So the opportunity for us is to be the dumbest guy in the room, right? And so when it comes to teams, right, is to be the person that's like, "I don't understand what the hell we're talking about," because most people won't do that because they don't want to look stupid. And
Mm,
if I'm the
yes.
guy who doesn't really care what other people think of me, and I can be like, "Yeah, I don't understand what the heck we're talking about," people will respect that because they secretly feel the same way, and they're too chicken to say it. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. What a great story indeed, Mr. Eric. So, what's practical technique for shifting from a reactive mindset to proactive mindset during a stressful quarter?
It's great. It's great. So there's this distinction, and I'm stealing it from somebody. I'm not sure who. We can have uh, we can have a creative world, or we can have a reactive world. So there's a coach I know, a guy named Devin Bandenson. He's a coach out of New York City. He's a great coach, and he tells the story of how he'll be at an airport and his flight has gotten canceled, and he's made a commitment to be somewhere the next day. And so it's at that juncture you can decide, am I going to create my world, or am I going to react to my world? A reactor might be, oh, this has just happened. What can I do? Right? I'm a victim. Whereas a creator is going to get literally creative. How can I get there? Okay, I can fly to here, I can connect to here, then I got to rent a car and I'll drive through the night, but I will be there, right? I will have integrity, I'll show up, right? And so that's the distinction, right, between somebody who has a creative mindset, who's looking at things as through the lens of possibility, and others who are looking through the lens or ownership, one could say, and others who are looking through the lens of, I'm a victim. The world, it's the distinction, Daniel, between people who say the world is happening to me, which would be kind of a victim mindset, versus the world is happening for me, which is kind of an owner mindset.
Mindset and company culture. Mr. Eric, how does the top leadership mindset about failure? Is it a disaster to be punished or a lesson to be learned, cascade down to affect every team's willingness to experiment?
Right. There's this great Seth Godin is, I think, who I got this from. He basically, and I remember I was in a meeting one time, but it's the idea that failure is an option. I remember one
Mm,
time
yes.
in my career, I was sitting around this big conference room table, and I was dealing with a lot of people who had strong feelings about something, and they were like, basically, well, what if this happens, and what if this happens, and what if that? And I remember just telling them, guys, failure is an option. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and they're like, no, no, failure's not an option. I'm like, sure it is. And I could just see it on their face. They just like some wires connected, and they were like, oh yeah, in this, failure's an option. There's some things maybe we don't want, if we're in the sky in an airplane, we're flying Apollo 13, maybe we don't want failure to be an option, right? But in
Yes.
some things, and it reminds me, I mean, Daniel, you know the story of Edison and the light bulb, right? Have you heard the story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, Edison didn't say, I failed 10,000 times to create a light bulb. He basically said, I found 10,000 ways not to create a light bulb. Same way with being an entrepreneur, right? If we can have that
Yes.
later mindset that failure is an option, fail early and often, it's everything.
Yes, try until you succeed.
That's right.
People. So, how does a scarcity mindset around information crippled collaboration and how is it overcome?
Yeah, and I would argue now. Look, there's some within an organization, right? There's some power dynamics, and one of the power dynamics can be informational, right? I have power because I have information that no one else has. Okay,
Yes.
that's a form of power. And generally, when we're living in the is it still the information age? I'm not sure. It's some age. There's information out there. And, and
Yes.
so it's like information is usually not the issue, right? There's information everywhere. I mean, we got so much information, we're drowning in it. And so often the opportunity is not, I would argue, is not around information, it's around transformation. Right? Because I can have all the
Yes.
information in the world and it doesn't matter. I can have very little information, but if I'm a trusted agent of transformation within an organization, if I'm a leader that gives other people safety and that can marshal them to take action to create results, that's powerful. That's powerful. So, yeah, transformation is
Powerful,
what I would
yes.
say.
Powerful indeed. And how can a company systematically hire for a mindset, not just skills, to build a culture that make coherent decision scale? Like,
Yeah. Sorry, Dan. I love your
you're breaking
podcast
up.
because it's real time, baby. It's real time.
Real time.
So I think you said how in terms of hiring, how can people
Yes.
hire somebody,
Yes.
right?
How can a company systematically hire for mindset, not
Got
just
it.
skills?
It's great. So I'll tell you another story. Notice I'm telling a lot of stories, right? Stories are really powerful, right?
Yes,
When it comes to communication. So like there's
definitely.
this story, and again, I'm stealing it from somebody. I can't even remember who, where this guy is supposed to interview the CEO of a big hotel. And so he walks
Yes.
in and he notices the person at the door. It's really, really helpful. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Really friendly. He goes up to the front desk to find the CEO's office, and the person behind the front desk, really, really friendly. That's interesting. He goes on the elevator. The guy in the elevator helping, really friendly. He walks down a hallway. The cleaning lady, super friendly. So finally, he gets to the CEO's office, and he notices that the assistant out front, really, really friendly. He finally gets in to see the CEO, and she says, "Are you ready for the interview?" And he's like, "No, I've got to ask you a question." She's like, "What?" He's like, "How do you train people to be so friendly?" And she looks really confused. She's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, and he's like, "Well, every person I saw walking up here was super friendly." And she's like, "Oh," she says, "you misunderstand. We don't train people to be friendly. We hire friendly people."
People. Oh, nice.
So and sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes when we're
Mm-hmm.
hiring people, it's hard. And so, I mean, one of my favorite questions that I like to ask people when I'm hiring them, and when I help people get hired, I make sure that they're prepared for this question,
Mm-hmm.
is the question, tell me about a time you made a mistake. And what they're listening for is not the mistake, because we all make mistakes, right?
True.
That's not the issue. What one is listening for, if they know what they're doing in an interview, is they're listening for these words: "It was 100% my fault," or 100% my responsibility would be a little bit more enlightened version, but it was 100% my responsibility, right? I felt bad about it, and here's what I learned. Because what that shows is somebody basically gives, I don't want to swear on your podcast, but they care, right? They give a beep, right? They
Deep.
care,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
They care, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if and look, people can change. We can hire people that don't care, and we can make them care. And if we're an entrepreneur running our business, we might not want to spend our time and resources doing that, right? Let them go find a
Yes.
coach. We wish them well. They're going to get straightened out. Maybe they'll come back. We'll hire them then. But if we're running a business and we're focused on an outcome to serve the world, like, we want to hire people that, are going to help us reach that goal. People smarter than us. We don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. That's for sure.
Yes. Hire people smarter than you. People.
100%.
Yes. And to wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Eric, ultimately, if you could leave every leader with one core belief to adopt about the power of mindset, what
Yeah.
would it be?
And again, I'm stealing this. My coach is a lady named Carolyn Freyer Jones. She's the best coach ever, right? And I learned this from her, but she says the issue is not the issue; it's how we relate to the issue, right? So if we whatever we think the issue is, that's not it. It's how we're relating to it, and if we can keep that in mind, everything's possible.
Everything is possible, and try until you succeed. Mr. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, as well as your books?
Thank you, Daniel. I just want to acknowledge you for what you do and helping people in the world. It's inspiring. So look, if people are looking for help in their work or life, you can look me up at winatwork.io. That's winatwork.io. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So just look up Eric Woodard, coach, and follow me on LinkedIn. Love to connect with you there.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Eric Woodard, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy will rise. So, Mr. Eric, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Modicon people, see you soon.